Okay, we're back with A7R2, or sorry, an A72. This one seems to be having a quirk with initializing fully. Gives the camera error message. It does a cycle of the shutter and then gives the camera error message. So I don't think I've had one specifically that had this exact symptom like this. But with the camera error, it always seems to end up being something related to the shutter, the ibis. So see what it does there? I can't tell if the rear shutter is not moving, and that's why it's not resetting fully and opening. But I feel like this is a shutter related problem where the rear shutter can't reset. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I'm wondering what I'm going to find in here. This might be a fairly extensive tear down. So maybe I'll do this one as a, maybe I'll do this one tutorial style, since I don't recall doing an A72 shutter replacement tutorial. So this one's going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to explain step by step exactly what I'm doing for just about everything. So this will probably be, I guess it really depends on what the problem is. This is going to be a two-parter, maybe a three-parter. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah. Oh, and I got Remy crying in the background, so I'm hoping I'm not going to have to cut at all. But who knows with Remy around. He's going to dive bomb the desk, get in places where he's not going to, not supposed to be. Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. It's always an adventure with Remy around. This one does look like it has a screen protector on it, so that's kind of nice. It's a little crooked, but having a screen protector on there is always a plus. So my primary tools, I don't know if I've ever really gone through my primary tools for any of this stuff. Primary tools generally are going to be these. These are supplementary. So I've got a Wera screwdriver. I really like the Wera brand. Wera screwdrivers, just they fit quite nicely, and they've got high tolerances for the shape of the head of it. This is a Pt1 Wera, and it looks like, get back, Rambo. Remy's trying to dive bomb us. This tool, or this tool, I've got two of them. They're just painter's putty tools, and I use that to get part of the LCD ribbon component pieces out, and I'll show you that here in a minute. That'll be one of the first things that ends up happening. Just a pair of basic curved tweezers. At some point I want to get a little bit nicer pair. These were just a pair that I got from some kit, I think. Excuse me. I go through quite a few of these iFixit spudgers, the number 4 spudgers, to keep a sharp tip, and these always end up rounding out. Now, people have asked me about this tool before, and this is actually a watchmaking tool. I don't know, years ago I decided I wanted to get into watchmaking, and I ended up getting quite a few watchmaking tools, and this is one of them. It's a Virgin post tool, and I use whatever this particular one is for a lot of my ribbon replacements, because they fit around the friction posts. So that's what that is. This is just a, I don't know, generic Amazon tweezer that I coated with I think it's Magic Tool, something like that. It's oh my goodness, Remy, no. Come on now. Get down. It's a rubberized coating for bead making or something like that. But I rubberized coated that. At some point here I'm going to have to redo that coating. It's starting to come off. That stuff is it's pretty nasty stuff. They've got chemical toluene in it, which is really not good for you. It will eat through, well, it will deform plastics. I used to store it in this airtight container to try to help with the drying out of the jar, because once you open it, it's all downhill from there. It's not going to last very long. You use the jar once basically, and you don't use it again for a while, and it's dried out unless you happen to have bought a thing of toluene to replace the chemicals that are evaporating out of it. And in an attempt to reduce the loss, I bought this Tight Pack Mini Vac container with the container fit right in there, and this used to be clear, so that chemical vapor basically is, oh, this is super brittle now. Oh boy, yeah, that stuff is nasty. But anyway, I custom created this iFixit spudger for LCD panel ribbons. One of these sides works better than the other. Maybe I fashioned one side better than the other. The angle is a little bit different, but you'll see that in use here in a minute. And then this is just a generic flipper tool or spudger tool that I got out of a watch battery replacement kit. And then these are some basically just corrosion. They're little brush tips that I use for corrosion. Another cheap Amazon set. Nylon, brass. There's a stainless steel one. I don't know where that one's at the moment. Oh, it's right here. A stainless steel one. And then this one is, I never used this one. This is, I think it's glass fiber. I never really used that one. But yeah, I mostly use the brass and the nylon. I bought a few replacement tips for those. And if I need it for some of the more corroded ones, I'll use this metal spudger to try to release components. But those are, oh, and a toothbrush, get corrosion off. But those are my main tools that I use. Oh, and my blower. You can buy similar ones with camera sensor cleaning kits. This one specifically came from, I believe, Michael's, and it's a little bit larger bulb, so it gets a little bit more airflow, and it's actually meant for, I believe it's watercolor painting. You use it to blow on the watercolor or the ink or whatever it is, you blow on it to do whatever it is you're doing with the art of it. But this is, I believe, from Michaels. It's not actually a blower that you would get out of a kit from a camera, so it's a little bit bigger. But yeah, let's, those are the main tools that I use. I'll put this back. If you are interested in this tool, at one point I did look it up for somebody who was asking me questions about it. I can probably find the model of it again, but it's not cheap. Bergian tools aren't cheap. They're like the brand in watchmaking tools. But anyway, let's get started on this. So I got the battery out. You don't ever want to take stuff apart with the battery in. And then for the eyepiece, this one doesn't look like it's in too bad a shape. We'll see. Just kind of came out of the holder, looks like. If I get that back in there. Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay, alright, I can probably reuse this thing then. Yeah. Alright, first things first is you want this switch, you don't want it pointed down, you want it pointed up because of the little flipper on the inside ribbon for this. And if you have it down, when you take the back plate off and you put it back on, this will be below the little flipper, and then when you do this, it cranks that flipper the wrong way, and you know, has the possibility of breaking it. Anyway, these are all number 2s on the bottom plate. That's going to be where we're going to hit first, is the bottom plate. I'm going to set all of these aside. I like to swap out these outer screws with inner screws just because I prefer to have black screws instead of worn, either corroded or silver unpainted screws. I mean, obviously they were black originally, but just through the years of wear and tear, they're gonna lose their paint. We do have a little bit of corrosion on this guy, on the underside. You can see there. So we're going to take our brass. Looks like toothbrushes clean up that. Use the lightest material you can, anyway, because the brass will take off the paint, whereas the toothbrush won't. Oh man, my allergies. Apologies, 1 second. I just found out recently that, I don't know about recently, but, I don't know. I realized or acknowledged that I have allergies recently, even though I probably had them for a long time. I just started taking some allergy medication, and I forgot to take it last night before bed, and I'm a little runny today. I just thought it was life, not allergies. Those are all number 2s. This is the shorter number 1 screw. You can see it's shorter. That's an internal screw, so I'm going to put it in my little container. And then this little plate is just going to pop off. If there's corrosion, sometimes it can be sticky. Yeah, you can see how it's a little sticky on this corner. It's all sticking right into this edge and this bottom. This you can safely use your brass on. It's obviously a stainless. You can see all this connection edge, or the sealing edge, is all white from corrosion. And the white comes from the, it doesn't come from this stainless, it comes from the alloy that they use on the frames. It is not the best alloy. It's light and it's fairly strong, but it is also brittle and pretty susceptible to moisture corrosion. Just clean up that leading edge a little bit. Okay, we're going to work on this LCD panel now. This you kind of got, if you can get your fingernail underneath there, you can just get your fingernail underneath there and kind of pull up a little bit and then wiggle outward, and I'll get it up over this little flip tab and slide out. And then I use this particular spudger to get in between the metal frame and the flipper. Pry it up. In this case we have the problem with the alignment being a little more off, and this metal is stopping the flipper from fully opening, so just bend that up a little bit. Oh, I guess this is one other main tool. This is a bead working pliers that I got from Hobby Lobby. Comes in handy in a few instances. But alright, we'll just flip this ribbon. Oh, that's the broken spudger. Get a new one. Get under the ears, in between the ear and the connector, and just very slightly pull down on both sides until it kind of comes free, like that. And we're going to flip the LCD panel back the other way. And this is where the painting tool comes in play. I end up using this one a lot more than this one. This one's thinner and it's not quite as easy to do this, but you slip it down in between the ribbon and the metal piece, get her down, and then you want to pull up and out. So you're pulling out this way and then pulling back this way, because these little hinges, basically you're putting pressure on it this way just so that you can pull it up back out this way, because these little tabs sit down into a little groove as well. And then I'll take my rubber tweezers. These are mostly, I use these mostly for ribbon manipulation, because the rubber will grip the ribbon without damaging it. And this is held on by an adhesive, so you just want to get a little pressure and then slowly pull away from the LCD panel. Sometimes the adhesive will stick to the ribbon, sometimes it will stick to the LCD panel location. I prefer it sticking to the panel frame, just because if I have to replace the ribbon, then I don't have to figure out how to get an adhesive in there. Alright, with that done, we then move on to the hinge screws. Now these 4 screws, I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but these are unique. So these 4 are unique to the hinge, and they're, I don't believe, used anywhere else on the camera. If there are, they're in the LCD panel frame assembly, but I believe these 4 are fairly unique. Unless you're taking the LCD panel apart, you won't use these screws anywhere else. So we'll take those 4 off, and then the panel comes off. Now here are the grooves that I'm talking about. So the little hook goes in here and slides down and connects against this little spot there, and then the sliders just go down in here and slide down and lock it into place. Pretty simple, really. And now we're just gonna take out all the screws for the outer frame, the back frame. These three are number 1s that are right behind the LCD panel. Number 1s. And then we're going to be taking it all apart, so we're going to be taking all the screws out on the frame on the outside. The rest of them are going to be number 2s except for one. I'll show you that one, but these are all number 2s. Well, take that back. There's one other one that's not a 1 or a 2 in here. But these are number 2s. This is the one that's not a number 1 or number 2. This particular screw on the upper corner here is unique to the A72 specifically. This screw is nowhere else in the camera. It is only here, and I don't know why. I don't know if anybody knows why. This silver, longer, probably M2, but that's unique to that location in the upper corner. And then this one here in the middle of the battery bay, this holds the grip to the top case. You want to take that one out too. If you're not taking the front grip off for any repair, you don't have to generally take this one out, but you know, it's good to take it out anyway, I guess. And this is number 2 also. Number 2. And Remy. I knew he was going to be a problem. What are you doing, Remy? What are you doing? You can't have this. No, you can't have anything up here either. No, no, no. Here, I'll give you something. Here, take a Q-tip. Yeah, here, look. He likes Q-tips. That might work for 5 minutes. Alright, so yeah, that worked for 5 seconds. He's back. No, Remy. Oh! This is also a number 2, I believe. These particular ones right here are harder to get out because they're held in by magnet from the IBIS. So they're a little bit more difficult to get out. Sometimes I have to utilize my own magnet to get a little extra pull on them, like that. Number 2. This is a number 1 right here. The shorter number 1. Alright, now everything should be to a point where we can pull this off fairly easily. Oh, no, actually, no. Take that back. We need to take this eyepiece off, this eyepiece cover. This particular screw that holds on the dial is unique, so I just set that aside. These 4 are number 2s. you want to make sure that this window is clean, because that covers the proximity sensor for the EVF. If that's dirty, you can come into a situation where it thinks that it is, it thinks that there's something in front of it that's tripping the EVF and the proximity sensor, and the EVF will turn on and the LCD panel will turn off. So you can have situations, I've seen it, where you'll turn a camera on, the LCD panel flips on, it powers on for a second, it doesn't display anything because it's too quick to switch, but the LCD panel will turn on and blink for a second, and then everything will be displayed on the EVF. And if you have dirt or the sensor has got a problem where it's overly sensitive, it can appear as if you've got an LCD panel problem, but you have actually got a proximity sensor problem. Now I have repaired, I don't know about repaired, but I have fixed 2 situations where I've had an overly sensitive proximity sensor by manipulating a few of the pieces on here. But I really don't like doing that unless I have to. Get some of this dirt out of the corners here. Okay, now you should be able to pull the back panel off pretty easily, as long as there isn't a bunch of corrosion holding it down. And just be mindful of your ribbon that's got to come out in between that slot. Get out of there, Remy. Come on. Okay. No. Now, I might have to take a break here and get him out of the basement. He is just on a roll right now. He's bored and wants to play and has got nothing to do. He's either going to try to get in the ceiling or he's going to try to get up here because he wants any of the random small things to play with. Oh my goodness, alright. Time out. No, you can't be down here, buddy. Okay. Alright, next thing is you want to get, well, I take the D-pad off. Some people don't take the D-pad off. I also call it a D-pad because I'm just used to any directional pad being called the D-pad. Might show my age, I suppose. I don't know. But you want to just get something underneath this tab and pull it up and then push this backwards just like I did. And then if you've got a good top ribbon, you want to be careful with this. You want to put your thumb down on it and kind of hold it in place while you wiggle and pull this out of the connector so you don't damage that edge of the ribbon. Next thing is to kind of put your finger here and on the side and kind of like wiggle it upwards and then out. And then on the A72 line, there's only 2 tabs holding this in. It would be like this. So it goes up 1, and then this tab, you just kind of like pull it towards this way and up, and you're out. Now this is held on by this little plastic thing that goes in the hole right here and slides down, that holds it. Next, it's these 2 right hand screws. These are tapping screws. They go into a plastic hold, so they're a tapping screw. They're longer and have a wider thread pattern. See, that one's going to be a bear. Both of these 2 are the same. You can see they're longer and they have a wider thread pattern. And then on the left hand side here, down along this edge, you've got a number 2. And there's also a magnet, that IBIS magnet there, as you can see, it got held up on it. So again, sometimes you've got to take an additional magnet or a tweezers to grab that out. We'll see if we can get that threaded one to come out here. I'll take my little flathead spudger, and right here in this little gap between the metal frame, just kind of pull up a little bit, and that'll release that. Hopefully we can get that out now. There we go. Alright, and then on this side, we're not pulling this frame up completely yet because it's being held in. There's 2 inner frames. The one you can't see is a heat sink. It's underneath this, but it's held in place by this plastic shielding. You want to call it a shielding? I'm not exactly sure what it's for, but you want to get something down and back behind there, peel that back off, and then pull it out. It's held on by an adhesive. And now in some cases the adhesive is actually can be stuck here and here, and you have to take just a razor and slice it in between there, but in this case it's pretty clean. And now you should be able to just pry this guy off. And this door's got to be open for the frame to get past it there. Alright, and that's our outer frame component. Outer inner. Something like that. Now the next thing you want to do is get the SD card reader off. You got a number 1 on the side here. And then you've got a flip for the ribbon here. Flip that off. And then you should be able to again get your spudger kind of in between here somewhere and just kind of gently pry this off, because it's being held on by this component here and this post. So just get a little loose there and you should be able to pull it out that way, pull it up, kind of pull it down, and pull that out. Pretty easy. We got ourselves a hair inside here. Dark hair. Oh, we got another one here. Eek. All right. Another one. White one. Now we can get the heatsink frame out of here. Actually, we're going to take this LCD ribbon off first. Get our flipper out. Pull that down and out. And now we'll get this frame out of there. Number ones are all on here. These are all number ones. 4 screws. Uh, 35 minutes in, yeah, definitely. This is definitely a tutorial. Okay, so now with the screws out, it's being held on by this little pad, a heatsink pad that transfers the heat from the chip onto this plate. And you just want to get your spudger down back behind here and kind of gently pull up a little bit to separate that pad from the main board. Just ever so slowly until it releases, because you don't want to damage that pad. I don't even know if you can buy the pads. And then you can get underneath here and pull up too. Before you put it up all the way, you got to worry about this LCD ribbon. So you can either disconnect that, which we're going to at some point, or you just want to hold that corner down and then lift up on this edge to get this metal post out of its little holder between the frame and the board assembly. Then once you have that out, you can just slightly lift this up and then pull it out. Easy as that. Now we're to the main board component pieces. First thing I generally will remove at this point is going to be the EVF. So get your flipper. This is a reverse flipper. It's not like the other ones. This one is a little unique. So you get it underneath this little tab here and pull it down and out this way. And then you also want to remove this ribbon using the ears and your spudger, because this is for your proximity sensor. This ribbon is for the LCD panel on the back of the EVF. Now how I remove the EVF is I'll grab it with my forefinger up here and my thumb down here, and while I am pulling out this way, I'm also pushing inward to get this ribbon to push that way and out of the holder at the same time. So it's just all one kind of motion. So I push in like that, and then I'm wiggling this to release the adhesive hold the heatsink has on the back. So that one didn't quite break free that way, so I just kind of pull it this way and then push that way to get the EVF to slide out of there, because you can see how it how this ribbon slides downward on that flipper. So it's kind of a reverse situation. Now that all looks good. There's the white adhesive pad back there. That's what was causing the hold on that EVF. Now, since we are at this stage, we've got to get the top off in order to get any further. So there's a few screws that are holding this top on. One of them was this screw here. This goes through the grip and into the top of the frame. One of them is this one here that holds the frame to the other frame. And then we already got that one. And then these two here on the upper, the topmost frame portion, these will hold on the top of the frame. And then you want to get this front grip off. So you're going to go down through this hole, and there's a screw right here. That's a tapping screw. It's going into plastic, so it's a tapper. I'm going to take that one out. And now you can get the front grip off. What I generally will do is I'll put my thumb here and my fingers here, and then just very, very slowly with very precise pulling pressure, break the seal, wiggle it around a bit, and pull it out slowly. I'm kind of holding it that way. I'm pushing this way with this finger and pulling out with this hand so that I don't yank this. You don't want to yank this out. You just want to barely get it out, because that ribbon right there. You do not want to break that ribbon, otherwise you're replacing the ribbon on the front grip. So I'll usually hold this with my left hand in place, and I'll take my ribbon tweezers again. There's a post right here that's holding it in place, and then there's also a ribbon connector. So you want to pull this up and out of the post, and then grip it right about there, and you're going to be pulling on the ribbon kind of this direction instead of up, because this other connector that it goes into is only held on by a post and a couple tabs. So if you're pulling outward and down this way, it's going to hold that onto the post, because if you pull that out of the post, it just makes it a little bit more difficult, and there's nothing holding it to the top case, and you could potentially damage it. So you want to keep this receiver connector ribbon in place if at all possible. So you want to take your ribbon, grip it about there, and pull it down and wiggle it out. Ever so slight, back and forth until it releases. And then you've got your grip out. And then from here, you're working on getting the actual top off. And there's a few things that you got to do in order to accomplish that. One is releasing these ribbons from the gyroscope. Now I've got my second kitty down here crying because she's hungry. But you just sometimes this one was a little difficult. Even though it's small, it can be difficult, and you don't want to damage these ribbons, because otherwise you're doing a top ribbon replacement. So just back and forth a little bit at a time to get that out. And this is where this pliers comes in, one of the only places they use it. You got to get this NFC antenna power out of here. So you want to take your finger and kind of hold this ribbon in place, take this pliers or something and kind of wiggle, pull and wiggle this out of the connector, just like that. That's it for those pliers. And now you want to get your spudger underneath this, because there's two posts here that you need to get this out of, and you want to be careful about doing it, really. So you put the spudger underneath this line, and that one's a little stuck, so I'm going to use the flat edge and get it underneath the bottom part here and pull those off the posts just like that. Maybe it's better to start with the flat end. Sometimes these aren't as friction held onto those posts, and you can use the front end, but I suppose the flat end is probably a little bit safer. I'll do the same thing with this one here. And then take your flat end and pull it off those two posts. So now you've got all of the side ribbon's disconnected. And to get any further, well, we'll go with the top. So you just want to pull backwards, and I'm using this finger to push on this post, and I'm holding here with this one, and then just gripping it, and then just slightly applying pressure to it to try to break this seal. And this side can be sticky, and it is in this case. This side seems to have a lot of issues with corrosion making the frame stick, so this is where this metal spudger is going to come into play, because it just applies a little bit more pressure. You want to get it into this little corner piece here and kind of pry up ever so slightly, and there, just released. Alright, back to pulling this off. Just wiggle it ever so slightly. You want to get it out to where it's loose but still being held on by this frame piece, because you've got two ribbons you're going to take off. So you take your spudger and flip it, and flip it, and then forefinger and thumb, just pull back, and now the whole thing is going to almost fully release. Flip the camera up, tilt this out, because that's where this ribbon comes into play here. It's held on by this post, that's the post I was talking about, and then these two tabs. So that's the only thing with holding those on. And now you got your top off. At this particular point, I need to take a break because Betty is hungry, and she's gonna sit here and cry until I get up and walk her upstairs and watch her eat her food. And look at that, we've already got one post that just fell out, one security post, whatever, friction post from here that came out. See if any of these other ones are loose. Okay, those seem good. But yeah, this post came out of there. Do we have? No, that one looks okay. I'm wondering if we have something in the shutter that's causing it not to cycle, but we'll see here in a minute. So there's going to be a cut here, unfortunately, but it'll only take a moment for you. It's just I've got to go take care of Betty, so I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's actually been about an hour, I think. Had some stuff going on, but anyway, now that we are at this stage, we need to get down past the motherboard and past the IBIS down into the shutter and kind of get an idea of what might be going on here. I don't see. I do. Okay, I do see something. I don't know if you can tell, but the image sensor is cracked. The mounting point for the image sensor that is attached to the IBIS is cracked. So I am going to take an educated guess and say that that piece that cracked off got into the shutter gearing and is holding us up, but we'll find out here in a minute. The next thing we need to do is we need to get this gyro plate off. So we're gonna just grab that wireless line, pull it off of the board straight up, unclip that from there. Now these two silver screws are unique to this gyroscope board. Well, fairly unique. They're used in a few other areas, but for what we're getting at, this is the only two locations, these two right here, that they'll be used. And then this one here is the number 1. Now the easy way to get this off is just to get your spudger underneath of this and pull off the post here, and then it'll just come off. The third post here is a larger post, and that's why we want to start from that side. So now we're just going to get the motherboard off, so we just got to take off all these ribbons. Yep, this came off. So we'll do all the flips. And now I'll start removing these. Just take your time, 1 year at a time, back and forth. You don't want to break any of these, obviously. These two come out pretty easily. This one is usually going to be very, very stiff to come out. There's a lot of friction with this connector for some reason, so you might need to be extra cautious removing this. Just a little bit of pressure on each of the ears as you go. You don't want to rip this. This is the main ribbon that goes into the center connection slab for the IBIS, I believe. So if you break this one, you are replacing the IBIS basically. Alright, now we got that undone. You don't have to mess with the screws that are on the board because we're going to remove the whole plate. And that's going to be 4 number 1 screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now this plate should come off. Another one of those black hairs. Oh, there's part of our broken IBIS image sensor connecting hinge plate piece. I'm losing my words. Mounting point. I like to put these away just so they don't get dust and or any sort of issues with potentially like static. Next is the IBIS assembly is going to come off. It's these 3 screws here. These 3 screws are unique to this assembly. They have red Loctite on them. Or what I assume is Loctite. So you want to be careful because underneath here, you can see here, and you can't really see them on the other ones, but there's shims. There are shims on all three of these points right below the IBIS. So when you're grabbing this, you just want to be very careful and lift it straight up to not disturb any of those shims. Oh, okay. This might be part of our problem there. Ooh, and this image sensor's got a whole lot of fingerprints on it. That's gonna be professional cleaning. This image sensor, oh jeez, there's another couple of hairs. How do you get hair in here like that? This mounting point, let's get another loose piece here. Is it super loose? No, it's pretty, it's not moving. It's actually helping to keep that mounted. Ooh, it did move there a little bit, but right now it's acting as the other friction point to the screw, so I don't necessarily want to remove that. I don't think. Yeah, it's pretty well on there. I might do something I normally don't do, and I might put a dotted glue on that to hold it in place. I normally don't like using glue, but that is a critical mounting point. Just a tiny little bit of glue. And since this is super glue, you do not want that touching the image sensor, and you also want it in a completely I would normally enclose this. I would put it in my Tupperware for storage, but since I just put super glue on that, if I were to put this in an enclosed space, that super glue would adhere to the oils that are on these fingerprints, and it would completely ruin your image sensor. So right now this is staying in open air space, so that can completely dry 100%. And since we're doing multiple videos for this, I'm sure that it will be fine. So I think I've probably identified the reason why this was having a problem. We've got hair, and man, there's so much hair. How do you get hair in here like this? It's like somebody's actual, like, what do they do, rub the camera on their head? I don't get it. But yeah, so I'm betting that this is actually causing the problem, but we're going to take this out and check it. Oh, look at that. This other post here was broken. So we've got two broken posts on here. To ensure that those shims stay where they're supposed to be, I put the screws for the IBIS back in place. You don't want to mix them up. They don't always have the same sizes on each corner because they're used obviously to center on the focus plane to ensure proper focus. So there might be, you know, a thicker corner than another corner just due to the variance of the image sensor in the IBIS assembly. So those are adjusted in the factory. Now, in order to get the shutter out, it's going to be first you want to take off this mic assembly. It's going to be the center screw here. That's a locked tight number 2, and then you can just kind of grab it and pull it up out. On the A7S and the A7R2, there is a foam pad that kind of sits over top of that, and you got to peel it off. We got another hair in there, and then we can get at this set of 3 screws. These are also Loctited, red Loctited number 2s. These 3. And then you should be able to pull out your shutter assembly. Yeah, there's something that is stopping this from completing its cycle. Is that internal? Or do we have something else going on here? But normally you should be able to cycle this all the way up. So I'm not anticipating anything over here, because this is just on a floating hinge that is ran by this wheel. So there's something on the shutter assembly side that's causing it, and obviously not being able to come completely down isn't, this little notch isn't coming into play. So there's something that's physically stopping it. The internal assembly over here from being able to cycle through. So much here. So we're going to take this apart real quick just to see if we can eyeball anything. So we got this connecting screw here. This is unique to the camera. And then there's these 2 points here that's just kind of holding the assembly on. So you can see that goes up all the way down like it's supposed to. Make sure that this cycles all the way through and it doesn't get stuck. It does have some weird gunk there. I don't know what that was. So that's cycling as intended. There's nothing in the nothing in the gearing that's preventing the gearing from moving. Now I might still disassemble this to make sure that the gears don't have any damage, because since it couldn't move all the way, you could potentially have a situation where the gears are now damaged. And even if we replace the shutter side, you could come into a situation where it doesn't completely fix the overall problem. So we'll take a look at that here in a second. So I'm curious as to what was stopping this shutter assembly from fully closing, because it is getting stuck there. Is this shutter assembly bent? Or is there something internal here causing it? Oh. Yeah, okay. Look at that. This is the other part of that bracket that I was talking about. That is off of the image sensor mount. That's the other part that broke. Yep. It's unfortunate the looks like somebody tried to do some prying on this. I don't know if I can fix this bent assembly part here. Ooh, maybe. That might be a first. You can see it's still kind of bent. Let's see if we can get trying to like roll it slightly the opposite direction to straighten it out. You don't want this leaf to come out of the holder on that side. But that's a whole lot straighter than it was. Honestly, I kind of like that. It might be fine. I'm putting this back together and I'm going to test it. I mean, at this point, this is basically a functioning unit, I think. Just that tiny bend on that corner alone, because it's fully closed right now, it's not touching anything. So, oh yeah, I want to take this apart. I think we're good, honestly, there with that shutter component. I knew there was something physically stopping that, and this was jammed in there. That was from, this must have took some sort of a fall. Okay, we're going to set this aside. Obviously, in a shutter replacement video, you wouldn't be doing, or a shutter replacement of your own, you probably won't be doing this. So you can kind of ignore any of this stuff and fast forward if you know, you're not actually tearing apart the shutter and you're just doing a replacement. But I want to look at this gearing to make sure that we're good with that gearing. There's a post here for this ribbon. You want to be very careful, because those traces are super tiny and you don't want to tear them. Just kind of working it around the whole outside and let it pop off just like that. So I want to inspect this wheel here. Make sure that there's no flattened or rolled spots on it. And I'm basically just looking at that. I'm looking in this direction, making sure that this leading edge doesn't have any rolling on it from that center, from this wheel here, because that is where you get your tension to cycle the shutter, and everything looks good there. So putting that back in. You've got a little bit of odd gunk on here. All of this is a grease, but there's just weird sand and gunk pieces in there that shouldn't be in there. It might cause grief down the line. I just kind of give it a twirl, make sure that it feels good. For the continuation of this video, I'm just going to swap the motor out so that I can get this back together. Just taking far longer because it's been too long since I've taken one of these apart to remember it off the top of my head. Let's see. Yeah. So I'm just going to set this stuff aside. Get that sorted out later. Let's test out this shutter assembly now that we've more than likely fixed it. Yeah, it's pretty smooth. And actually, I'm probably going to cut this off now, just because I need to get to part 2. The reassembly is going to be fairly quickish, but it's going to be longer than what I want to have for a single part. So I'll have a part 2 for this, and we'll go from there. So, alright, well, while this is drying, oh yeah, it did dry pretty good. I'm just going to set this aside, because I've got to protect it. I'm going to do the work later to put that back together, but I'm going to put that over here. Alright guys, well, have a good weekend. Hopefully part 2 will be smooth and we won't have to have a part 3. I don't know, we'll find out. Alright, take care. Bye.